Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ambition, right? So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be telling you the tips that I have been doing in terms of how to cope with a loss, and I'll be getting into, you know, my loss and the ways that I've been coping with it. I am not going to be telling you guys how to get over it, because when you lose someone, you never will ever get over it. It's more so how to cope with it and how to deal with it and how to maneuver it on your day-to-day basis. So if you're interested in this video, then keep on watching. And the loss that I'm referring to is the loss of my daughter. If you aren't familiar with me having a couples channel, I do. Me and my fiance also gave tips on how we cope with the loss of our daughter. So if you want to see how you cope as a couple, then go ahead and check that out. I'll leave it in the eye and also in the description bar. It was my first pregnancy. I ended up losing her due to a very rare disease. It was like 1 in 300,000 disease, and she ended up getting it. We're doing our necessary things to figure out where it came from and yada yada, but the point is that we kind of like, you know, went for a regular ultrasound, and they found that something wasn't looking quite right and she wasn't compatible with life. At that moment, I did not know the gender of the child because we planned on having a gender reveal later that month. We ended up going in that Monday, finding out, second opinion, that she wasn't compatible with life. And then that Thursday, I was going in for my D&C to terminate the pregnancy. Now, there was a lot of things surrounding this decision. I was 20 weeks. I was almost 20 weeks at that time. I think in 2 days it would have been 20 weeks. And so I couldn't prolong the pregnancy because then it would have been a negative impact on my body, and she wouldn't have made it anyway. She would have been a stillbirth. So this video is not about the decision I had to make and why I had to do it. It's more so how I had to cope with the loss of her, because at the end of the day, they said that she wasn't going to make it anyway. She would have died regardless. And so it was, as you could probably imagine, it was hard to hear that. It was my first pregnancy, so we were super excited. And to hear, you know, you go into one ultrasound one day and then, you know, you hear that she has a 1% chance of living, is pretty hard to hear. So it was a pretty tough month for me and my fiance, but me especially, because I was halfway. I was halfway through my pregnancy. I was 20 weeks, and so I kind of built that bond with my child. I felt her kick and everything. So once we kind of, I think the day before the procedure, we ended up looking into the envelope and we saw that it was a girl. So this whole time I didn't know the gender. Yeah, so that's kind of what happened. That's my experience. If you have any questions regarding that, feel free to ask. I am now to the point where I'm okay talking about it, hence here. I did film this video before and I was still a little bit more like, I was more dazed in that video, so I decided to film this again. But, so I'm fine with talking about it. I am dealing with it, hence these tips that I'm going to mention. And these tips that I'm going to mention are things that are working for me, and hopefully they will work for you. I'm not telling you that you have to do these tips, but I'm saying that they might just be helpful. The first thing I want to say is, I know when people say, it's okay, you could try again. I was hearing that in the beginning, and it was actually quite emotional for me. And especially they would add in, you're young, you could try again. Age has nothing to do with it. This could happen at any time. Like I said, for me, my daughter had a very rare disease that I don't know where it came from. It's not in the family tree or anything. And so when people are saying it's okay, not so much knowing what's happening, just be mindful that people might say that and don't take it so bad. Just take it with a grain of salt. The next thing that I am going to be doing in terms of dealing with the loss is have a way to remember the baby. So I actually didn't buy anything, even though I was 20 weeks. I didn't buy a single thing for my baby. I actually just had a book. I had a journal in which I was writing every day. I was documenting my pregnancy. I have that book. I will be keeping it. I will be keeping ultrasounds. I have one video of her. I'll be keeping things like that, because I feel like if you keep something in remembrance of your child or the person that you lost, it makes you feel closer to them, right? And so I'm not going to throw that stuff away. The next tip is don't be afraid to celebrate maybe the day that they died, or for me, the expected due date. I'm going to be celebrating it as if it was her birthday. Like, I'm still going to think about it that way and have positivity surrounding it. And do that if it makes you feel happy. If you feel like it's going to be more stressful to celebrate the due date or to celebrate the death of the person, then don't do so. I'm just saying, for me, I think it will make me feel a little bit better if I celebrate her due date as her birthday and acknowledge that she would have been here, but instead she's up there. Cry when you want to cry. I think people assume that after the loss of someone, you get over it. No, there's going to be times you're going to cry for no reason. There's some nights where I just come home and I go in the dark and I just cry. And it's not because of anything specific. It could just be I saw a baby that day and I remember that I would have had one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just do it if you have to and if you want to, and know that it's okay. Do remember that they're in a much better place, and that's what I kind of think a lot more than usual. Depending on how you lost the person, depending on how you lost your pregnancy, you may think that, okay, for me, I'm going to speak from my personal experience. If my daughter had lived, which she wouldn't have anyway, but if she did, she would have been suffering. So would I have rather her be here and suffer, or have her be ultimately in heaven, because I'm religious, ultimately in heaven and not suffering, right? So I kind of think of it that way. I wouldn't want them to be suffering here on earth, and I'd rather, you know, have to terminate the pregnancy essentially and have her not suffer, you know. And I think that's kind of what I think of there, and she's in a much, much better place. And like I just said, like, if you're religious, then think of it as, who better to take care of the person that you lost, my child, than God, right? Like, I could just picture her in God's hands, nestled, comfortable, and safe. Like, I literally think of it like that, and it brings a huge smile to my face and a huge relief to my heart, knowing that she's in a much better place and she's with God and she's not suffering and she's being taken care of. Next thing is to join a support group, either online or in your community. I actually am part of a couple of groups on Facebook for women that has lost a baby in pregnancy, and I find them quite supportive. Or if you don't want to do that because ultimately they are strangers and you find that a little weird, that's fine. You could also just talk to your friends and family, but I do think it's better to talk to a woman that has also gone through the same thing that you have, because sometimes friends and family aren't that helpful because they don't understand. They can try, but because they haven't experienced it, they don't know exactly. So I feel like the groups online or in your community might be a little bit better, especially if it's a woman that's gone through something similar to you, and you'll feel like you're not so much alone. At first I was like, oh my god, I am alone. My child had this very rare disease and I had to terminate. And then once I found these groups on Facebook, you feel so much less alone and you feel so much more support. Next thing is to acknowledge your triggers. My triggers were that because I was 20 weeks and I was going to have my gender reveal that month, and 2 months later was going to be my baby shower, I was still getting emails from registries and different things about the baby, and so that was a trigger for me. So I had to completely unsubscribe from everything, delete the pregnancy app. I wouldn't go into Target through the baby aisle. I would literally go around the baby aisle if I had to get something that was near it. Like, that was triggers for me. I could not see anything baby related, and I knew that. So acknowledging your triggers makes it less likely for you to bust out crying, which at first it actually did. Because if there's something that you kind of remember from the person that you lost, acknowledge that it's a trigger. A certain commercial, a certain song, a certain food. Maybe just not see that stuff right away until you're comfortable with it. Because now, months later, I'm in Target, I can look at baby clothes. I'm fine, because I'm actually excited, because I'm looking at it like, oh my god, I would have bought this for her. She would have looked cute in this. Like, I actually twisted my mentality of my trigger and made it more positive. So it took a while though, but the point is, because I acknowledged it, I'm able to twist my viewpoint and I'm able to acknowledge it, and I'm fine. So sometimes you just have to do that, trick your mind sometimes, but it does take time. The next thing is to make a life goal and accomplish it. So what I mean by that is, now that you've experienced that loss, you can't just drown in your sorrows, even though you want to. You want to be in the dark sometimes, just bust out crying. That's fine. But make a goal and accomplish it, because that person is watching you. So for me, I was like, oh my God, my daughter's watching me. I'm going to work even harder than I ever had. I want to make her proud. So get that degree you've always wanted. Start that business. Lose that weight. Like, do whatever you want to do that you always wanted to do to make them proud because they are watching you. This goes out again to anyone that's lost a baby in pregnancy. Don't feel any less happy if your friends or family become pregnant. At first, I was kind of negative about it. I'm like, why is she pregnant? I should be pregnant now. Or, that's not fair. She's living this lifestyle. She got pregnant. She's fine. You're gonna have those thoughts, and it's okay. You're only human, and you've been through a traumatic situation and losing your child. But you can't always think like that. You have to be happy for them once you're ready, though. Don't be ingenuine about them being pregnant, but also don't let it make you bitter either. And don't compare your pregnancies either. I think that could be, it's a hard thing. Like, you can't compare someone to yours because it doesn't work that way. Everyone's different. Someone could be drinking a glass of wine every day while they're pregnant and the baby's fine, while you did everything to the book and you lost your child. So you can't compare it because at the end of the day, you guys are totally different. And it could be hard, but just focus on yourself. Find out, if possible, the reason for the loss. So for me, again, we found out that she had a rare disease because through the termination, they took her to do testing on her, and that's how we found out what she had. If you are able to do that, definitely do that because it gives you closure and it gives you awareness for future pregnancies if you do so. The next thing is, don't blame yourself. At first, I was like, oh my God, did I eat something wrong? Did I do something wrong? Did I sleep wrong? I was blaming myself for the loss of my daughter. And I couldn't do that. And my fiance reminded me of that. And you also can't blame your spouse or someone else close to you for the loss of that person. It doesn't work that way. It's no one to blame unless you lost that person in a specific way. Then there's blaming there. But in terms of my situation and the loss of my daughter, I couldn't blame myself and I couldn't blame my spouse. Again, if you want more on the spousing blaming thing, then I have the couples channel. Check that out. But blaming people is not the best thing. And even if you have someone to blame, forgive them. Find a hobby and or continue things that you've loved. So when I kind of went through this loss, I took a hiatus off of YouTube, which is something that I love to do. And I was like, F this, F the world, I'm not doing nothing. And I had to realize I can't think like that. I have to live my life. I'm still here on earth. So why don't I just continue doing what I love, find something new. I'm now working out. I'm doing Zumba. I'm finding things that I want to do and have fun with it because I need to make the time here on earth worth it until one day I go into heaven and I meet my daughter. So I have to think of it that way. Like, do what I want to do here now. Not be so drained and so sad all the time because then I won't make my life as beneficial as I could, and then I'll meet her one day in heaven. Next thing is, love yourself even more than you have before. Sometimes when you lose a baby and you are pregnant, you kind of lose yourself. You gain that weight or whatever, get snatched again, be the best version of you that you ever could be. If Mother's Day comes around and you feel like you were a mother, you are 100% entitled in that. So celebrate being a mother. I'm an angel mom. No one's going to take that away from me. I am that. And so be the best version of you. Love yourself. Take care of yourself. And just hug yourself. And prepare yourself for people asking you, do you have children, or how many children do you have? I've already been asked this question. And unfortunately, they asked me very early on while they didn't know what's been happening. And sometimes strangers are a culprit of this. They see you and your spouse together, like, oh my God, do you have any kids? And we're like, So prepare yourself for that question because it's going to happen. If you know your answer beforehand, you won't feel as attacked. So I have prepared my answer. So it depends on a lot of different things. I may say 1 and leave it at that and walk away, depending on the person. Or I may say none that's alive. And then I think at that point they will get the hint and leave me alone. But either way, it all depends on how much you want to disclose, because at the end of the day, it's your life. It's what you want to say. So again, these are my tips on how I've been coping with the loss of my daughter through a very rare disease that she had. This is a very personal video. So, I mean, yeah. It took a lot for me to disclose this. So if you found this helpful, if you connect with me, then like it, comment down below. I want to hear from you guys. I know that I'm not alone, and I really want to help someone else out there. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.